Uh, Welcome to you. We're seeing, and we've just been talking about the scenes in multiple countries, memorial services being held for Ismail Haniyeh. Do you think that these events are proving to be as much about showing solidarity for Palestinians as a whole, as much as they are about mourning an individual?
In fact, both. We cannot underestimate the amount of loss, the sense of loss, not only for Palestinians, but for the entire region. Ismail Haniyeh is known as a leader, is known as a negotiator, and is known as a symbol in the region. So that sense of loss does exist. Hamas does enjoy a lot of public support, and this is a testament. We see evidence of this in many Arab and Muslim streets. Also, we're talking about a sense of mourning. The Palestinian people have lost a leader, and everyone understands that there will be consequences because of this crime. Everyone understands that Israel wants to trigger a regional war and wants to drag the US into this regional war, because Netanyahu has no objective other than continuing this war, because his political survival depends on it. So I would say, yes, there is a sense of frustration, anger, but at the same time, there is also a sense that Israel has lost its compass, and Israel is now about to trigger a regional war in the whole region.
I'm just looking through, I wrote down the reactions that we saw from major political figures around the world when Haniyeh was killed, and there was condemnation coming from quite a few countries. They included the likes of China and Russia, and obviously Iran and Turkey. What did you make of the Western reaction, though? Because Joe Biden said very little. Some European leaders, as far as I could tell, didn't say anything at all.
Well, what matters to the US is whether the ceasefire talks will come to fruition, or whether they're going to be to fail. Now, his legacy depends on a ceasefire deal. He understands this. He has said this. What Netanyahu is doing is sabotaging any efforts for Biden to secure that legacy. Kamala Harris needs this deal as well, because she cannot go into the elections without unifying the Democratic Party that is fragmented because of the Biden's administration policy on the genocide that is taking place in Gaza. So there is that sense of frustration. But Biden is walking a fine line. On one hand, he has to continue to show support to Israel, not because only he is complicit and he is biased and he has love for Israel, but also because he understands that part of his base, part of his donors requires this, and they want this from him. On the other hand, he understands that the majority of the Democratic base is against his policy, and Kamala Harris needs a fresh start. He cannot deliver that to her. The only way for this to happen, the only way for Kamala Harris now to unify the Democratic Party is to achieve a ceasefire. Netanyahu doesn't want this. There was an understanding last week when Biden met with Netanyahu in the Oval Office, and this was the first meeting between the two in the White House. There was an understanding that Netanyahu would accept a ceasefire. There was a new sense of hope that this is going to happen and this is going to come to a conclusion. Netanyahu now again sabotaged whatever hopes, whatever bet, but Biden had or Kamala Harris had. So I think now Biden has to make a call. Biden said that the assassination is not helpful, but at the same time he's saying we're going to deploy more military assets in the region to defend Israel against Iran. What about the infringement on Iran's sovereignty for the Biden administration? This has no meaning. What about assassinating a top leader of Hezbollah in Beirut? For the Biden administration, this doesn't mean a lot. The only thing that the Biden administration is interested in now is not having a regional war, because this will drag the US into it. So what do? Instead of refraining Israel from continuing its crimes, they pressure other actors who are at the receiving end, like Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas. They pressure them not to escalate. But the only side that is escalating is Israel. But they cannot control Israel. There is this understanding, there is this frustration that we know from anonymous sources who say that there is a frustration that exists within the Biden administration. Or the call between the two was tough. Okay, what do you mean by tough? If you say it was tough and the Biden is not very happy with it and he understands that Netanyahu is trying to drag him into a war, why not pressure Netanyahu to bring to an immediate end, no more negotiations, because these negotiations are going nowhere. You know, every time we say we're too close, then Israel do something. And when Israel does that, then we're talking about a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth round of negotiations. And the only thing that the U.S. is doing here is pressuring the mediators, pressuring Qatar, pressuring Egypt, to pressure Hamas or to pressure Hezbollah or to talk to the Iranians not to escalate. But the only side that is escalating is the Israeli side.
Osama, great to have you on. Appreciate your time.